Mohenjo-daro, the radiant civilization that perished without a trace. More than 4,000 years ago, while the pyramids of Giza were still fresh and the inhabitants of Europe were living in modest tribal settlements, a colossal metropolis arose along the fertile banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan. This was Mohenjo-daro, a marvel of the Bronze Age and the crown jewel of the Indus Valley civilization. In the local Sindhi language, its name translates to Mound of the Dead, a grim title for a city that was once the pinnacle of human ingenuity. Yet, the true mystery of Mohenjo-daro lies not in how it lived, but in the chilling, unexplained nature of its sudden silence. To understand the magnitude of the tragedy, one must first appreciate the sophistication of the victim. Mohenjo-daro was not a city that evolved organically or haphazardly. It was a planned environment, a product of rigorous engineering. The city was divided into two main sectors: the citadel, which housed administrative and perhaps religious structures, and the lower city, where the majority of the population resided. The streets were laid out in a perfect grid, oriented to the cardinal points, a feature that modern urban planners would not master for millennia. The buildings were constructed with standardized fired bricks, an incredible technological feat considering that contemporary civilizations, like Mesopotamia, often relied on sun-dried mud bricks. Most impressively, Mohenjo-daro possessed the world's first sophisticated urban sanitation system. Nearly every house had a private bathing area and a drainage system that channeled waste into covered street sewers. This level of hygiene suggests a society that placed an immense value on public health and civic order. The historical narrative of Mohenjo-daro took a dark turn in 1922 when archaeologists led by R.D. Banerjee and later Sir Mortimer Wheeler began uncovering the city's remains. Unlike the grand cemeteries of ancient Egypt or the battlefields of Troy, Mohenjo-daro presented a scene of chaotic, inexplicable death. Archaeologists discovered approximately 44 skeletons scattered in various parts of the city. These were not soldiers fallen in battle, nor were they victims of a ritual burial. They were found in the streets, inside rooms, and in public squares. One group consisted of a family, a father, mother, and child, found clutching each other's hands in the middle of a street. Others appeared to have been struck down while performing mundane tasks. There were no signs of a struggle, no defensive wounds on the bones, and most importantly, no evidence of a citywide fire or a massive military invasion. The inhabitants simply stopped where they were, as if the breath of life had been sucked out of them in a single terrifying instant. For decades, one of the most polarizing theories regarding Mohenjo-daro's end has been the atomic hypothesis. In the mid-20th century, some researchers claimed that the skeletal remains exhibited levels of radioactivity significantly higher than the natural background radiation. Furthermore, proponents of this theory pointed to sections of the city where the brickwork had been vitrified, melted into a glass-like state. Such a transformation requires temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius, conditions usually associated with volcanic activity or, more controversially, a nuclear blast. While this theory has captured the imagination of many, mainstream science remains skeptical. Most modern archaeologists argue that the high radiation claims lack verified peer-reviewed data and that the vitrification could have been caused by localized industrial processes, such as high-heat pottery kilns. Nevertheless, the lack of a clear, conventional cause of death for the people found in the streets keeps the mystery alive. A more scientifically grounded explanation involves the volatile nature of the Indus River and the shifting climate of the second millennium BCE. The Indus Valley civilization was an agrarian society that relied heavily on the predictable flooding of the river. Geological evidence suggests a massive tectonic shift may have occurred, causing the riverbed to rise or the river to change its course entirely. This would have led to two possible catastrophes: the slow death or the flash flood. A change in river flow could have turned the fertile plains into a dust bowl, leading to a total collapse of the food supply and sparking widespread famine. Alternatively, some researchers believe a sudden catastrophic flood could have submerged the city under layers of silt and mud. However, even these theories struggle to explain the instant death seen in the skeletons. Famine usually leads to organized burials, and floods typically wash bodies away rather than leaving them in situ in their homes. In recent years, biological and chemical theories have gained traction. Given the city's high population density, a sudden and virulent outbreak of a disease, such as the bubonic plague or a deadly strain of malaria, could have decimated the population faster than survivors could bury the dead. Another intriguing possibility is a limnic eruption, or a sudden release of toxic gases from the earth. Mohenjo-daro sat near seismically active zones. It is theoretically possible that a pocket of carbon dioxide or other lethal gases was released from beneath the riverbed or a nearby geological fault, suffocating the entire population in their sleep or as they walked the streets. This would explain the lack of physical trauma on the skeletons and the preservation of their final, desperate poses. Mohenjo-daro remains a haunting testament to the fragility of human achievement. It was a civilization that mastered water, architecture, and trade, yet it was erased by forces we still do not fully comprehend. Whether it was a victim of its own environmental impact, a sudden geological upheaval, or a biological catastrophe, its end was absolute. Standing among the red brick ruins today, you feel the weight of a silent history. Mohenjo-daro reminds us that progress is not always a linear path upward. Sometimes even the most advanced societies can be silenced in a heartbeat, leaving behind only bones and bricks to tell their story to the wind. It is a story that challenges our understanding of the ancient world and serves as a somber reflection on the vulnerability of all great cities.